Some stories should never be heard after midnight.
Last Tuesday at 11:47 p.m., I Googled my own name, just out of boredom, just something everyone does sometimes. The third result was my obituary. It had my full name, my age, my neighborhood, the coffee shop I go to every morning, the route I walk home every night, and the date of my death, which was 4 days from that moment. The worst part? It had already been shared 47 times. Video 62, Part 1. Script title: I found my own obituary posted online. Written by someone who knows my daily schedule. Last Tuesday at 11:47 p.m., I Googled my own name, just out of boredom. Just something everyone does sometimes. The third result was my obituary. It had my full name, my age, my neighborhood, the coffee shop I go to every morning, the route I walk home every night, and the date of my death, which was 4 days from that moment. The worst part? It had already been shared 47 times. I need to be very clear about something before I start. I am not a paranoid person. I don't have enemies. I'm not involved in anything dangerous or illegal. I'm a 29-year-old graphic designer living in Portland, Oregon. I have a cat named Biscuit, a studio apartment I love, and a life that is genuinely, boringly normal. Or it was. Until 11 days ago. It started the way a lot of strange things start, with insomnia and a phone screen at midnight. I'd been lying awake for an hour, couldn't shut my brain off, and started doing that thing where you just mindlessly scroll and search random things. At some point, I typed my own name into Google. Sarah Ellen Morse. I do it occasionally, everyone does, just to see what comes up. Usually it's my old college design portfolio and a LinkedIn profile I haven't updated in 2 years. That night, there was something new. Third result down. A website I didn't recognize. One of those memorial and obituary aggregator sites, the kind that funeral homes use to post announcements. The preview text in the Google result showed my full name and the words, "Passed away peacefully." I actually laughed out loud when I first saw it. I thought it was some kind of glitch, or maybe a different Sarah Ellen Morse. It's not the most common name in the world, but it's not impossible that someone else had it. I clicked the link. It was me. Not just my name. The obituary listed my age, 29, correctly. It listed my city, Portland, correctly. It described me as a graphic designer. It mentioned I was a graduate of Oregon State University, which is true. It said I was an avid reader and that I loved hiking the Forest Park trails on weekends, which is something I do every single Sunday without fail. It said I was survived by my mother, Carol, and my younger brother, Jesse. Those are their real names. And then it listed the date of my death. 4 days from that night, this coming Saturday. The cause listed was a traffic accident. I sat up in bed and read it 3 times. My heart was doing something strange, not quite racing, more like stuttering, like it couldn't decide whether to panic or shut down entirely. The obituary had been posted 6 days earlier, which meant someone had written and published this 5 days before I'd even found it. I checked the share count at the bottom of the page. 47 shares across various platforms. 47 people had seen this and passed it along, presumably thinking it was real, presumably thinking Sarah Ellen Morse of Portland, Oregon, had already died. I screenshotted everything. Then I checked the website's contact information and sent an angry, confused email demanding they take it down and explain how it got there. I reported the page through their online form. I flagged it as fraudulent. Then I lay awake until 4 a.m. trying to make sense of it. The next morning I told myself it was a prank. Someone who knew me, an ex, a former friend, someone with a weird sense of humor, had posted a fake obituary as some kind of sick joke. Uncomfortable, creepy, but ultimately harmless. I'd get it taken down. I'd figure out who did it. I'd move on. But then I read it again in the daylight. Whoever wrote it knew things that a distant acquaintance wouldn't know. The Forest Park hiking detail. I'd never posted about that publicly. I'd mentioned it to close friends, and that was it. My social media presence is minimal and deliberately vague about my routines. But the thing that genuinely made my stomach drop was a single line near the end of the obituary, in the section describing my personality. Sarah could always be found at her corner table at Anchor Coffee on Burnside, sketchbook open, headphones in, large oat milk latte in hand, every weekday between 8:15 and 9:30 in the morning. I don't post about Anchor Coffee. I've never tagged myself there. I've never mentioned it on any platform connected to my real name. It is simply where I go every single morning, a private routine, something only someone who had physically watched me would know. Someone had been watching me. I called my friend Dana that morning and read her the obituary over the phone. She was silent for a long time. "Sarah, you need to call the police." I did. I filed a report. The officer I spoke to was kind but honest with me. Without an explicit threat, there wasn't much they could immediately do. They took my information, noted the report, and told me to document everything and avoid being alone in isolated areas. Not exactly reassuring. I did not go to Anchor Coffee that morning, or the morning after. On the third day, I broke my routine completely. Took a different route to work, left an hour earlier than usual, told my manager I was dealing with a family situation and might need to leave unexpectedly. On the fourth day, I got a notification from Google that the obituary page had been updated. I opened it with shaking hands. The cause of death had been changed. It no longer said traffic accident, and the date had been pushed forward by exactly 4 days to the following Saturday. At the very bottom of the updated obituary, in a section that hadn't been there before, was a single line in italics that the website's format didn't normally include. "She should have kept going to the coffee shop. She should have kept going to the coffee shop." I read that line 7 times. Each time my brain tried to find an alternate interpretation. A glitch, a formatting error, something pulled from a template. Each time it came back to the same thing. Whoever was doing this knew I'd stopped going, which meant they'd been there, watching my corner table, noticing the empty seat, and instead of being frustrated that their plan had changed, they were communicating with me through a fake obituary, like it was a game. I called the police again and sent screenshots of the updated page. The same officer called me back within the hour. This time, his tone was different. The line, "She should have kept going to the coffee shop," changed things. He classified it as a credible threat and assigned a case number. He told me to stay with someone I trusted, not to be alone, and to call 911 immediately if anything felt wrong. I called my brother Jesse. He drove up from Eugene that same night. Having him there helped more than I can explain. Not because it made me feel completely safe, but because it made everything feel slightly more real, like I wasn't going insane. Jesse wanted me to leave Portland entirely, stay with our mom in Bend until this was resolved. Part of me wanted that too, but another part, the part that had been watching too many crime documentaries and thinking too clearly for my own good, recognized something. Whoever this was had shown their hand with that last line. They were watching specific locations. They knew my routines. But they'd also just told me they were rattled by a change in my behavior. That meant I had some control. I didn't leave Portland. Instead, I did something that felt either very smart or very stupid at the time. I called Dana, who had 2 other friends staying with her, 4 of us total. I asked them all to come to Anchor Coffee with me the next morning. Not at my usual time, earlier, 7:30 a.m. All of us together, spread across different tables, pretending not to know each other. Jesse thought I was out of my mind.
Maybe I was.
We got there at 7:25. I took my corner table. Dana sat near the window. Her friends positioned themselves near the door and the counter. Everyone had their phones ready. Everyone was watching without looking like they were watching. I ordered my oat milk latte. I opened my sketchbook. I put my headphones in without actually playing anything. For 40 minutes, nothing happened. Then at 8:10, a man came in that I'd never seen before. Mid-40s, plain gray jacket. Nothing obviously unusual about him except one thing. He didn't order anything. He walked to a small table near the back, sat down, and immediately looked at my corner table. He looked at me for exactly 3 seconds. Then he looked down at his phone. Dana texted me under the table, "Gray jacket, I see him." I didn't move. I kept my eyes on my sketchbook. My hand was shaking so badly I couldn't have drawn a straight line if my life depended on it, which, I was increasingly aware, it might. He sat there for 20 minutes, didn't order, didn't use his laptop, just looked at his phone and occasionally glanced at my table. At 8:31, he stood up and walked out. Dana followed him at a distance. He got into a silver Honda Civic parked half a block away and drove north. She got a partial plate number. I gave it to the police immediately. They ran it, called me back 2 hours later. The partial matched several registered vehicles in the Portland area, and they couldn't narrow it down without more. But they increased the frequency of patrols near my apartment and the coffee shop. A detective was assigned to my case. For 2 days, nothing happened. I started wondering if I'd overreacted. If the man in the gray jacket was just someone having a bad morning who forgot to order. If the whole thing was some elaborate coincidence. Then, on Thursday night, the Google alert I'd set up for my name triggered. The obituary had been updated again. The date was gone. The cause of death was gone. Most of the text had been stripped away. The page now contained only 4 sentences. Sarah Ellen Morse, Portland, Oregon, graphic designer. She got too close. And below that, a photo. It was taken from outside my apartment building, through the window of the coffee shop across the street that I sometimes used as a second workspace. You could see me clearly, sitting at a table, laptop open, Jesse sitting across from me. It had been taken 2 days ago, the day after the Anchor Coffee incident. The day I thought I was being careful. I called the detective immediately. She came to my apartment within 30 minutes, looked at the photo, and made a call I wasn't supposed to hear. I heard it anyway. We need to move faster on this. She's being actively monitored. That night, Jesse and I left my apartment with 1 bag each. We didn't tell anyone where we were going except the detective. We drove to a friend of Jesse's in a town 2 hours outside Portland that I'd never visited and had no public connection to. That was 6 days ago. The obituary page went offline 3 days ago. The detective called to tell me they'd identified a person of interest through the plate number and additional footage pulled from the coffee shop cameras. She couldn't share details yet. I'm making this video because sitting in a stranger's guest room doing nothing was making me feel like I was disappearing. Like whoever this was winning simply by making me hide. So this is me not hiding. I don't know how this ends. I don't know if they've found the right person. I don't know if I'll be back in my apartment next week or next month. But I'm still here. My corner table at Anchor Coffee is empty right now, and I want whoever did this to know I'm not filling it with fear anymore. If you're watching this, I made it, at least to this moment. I don't know what happens next, but I know this. The moment I stopped being predictable, everything changed. Remember that. If this story hit you somewhere real, subscribe and hit that notification bell, because my next video is already written, and it's about what the detective found. And drop a comment. Have you ever felt like someone knew your routine a little too well? Tell me. I want to know I'm not the only one who's felt watched.